the reason why we had no money and had no capital is because our mindset and attitude towards money and capital was so negative. And if you have, that much negativity towards something and you repel it internally or mentally or spiritually or however you want to phrase it, it's not going to come to you.
Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hello and welcome back to Pillars of Wealth Creation. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. With me, excited to have Ellis Hammond. Ellis, how are you doing today?
What's up, Todd? Glad to be here, man.
Happy to have you. A little bit about Ellis, and I'll let you expand upon it. But you are a former missionary, and we're still really a missionary, right? You're still doing God's work. It's not like you just said, I'm done doing that.
Yeah.
But in a different capacity and kind of an exciting capacity. So we'll hit on that. But you are now a full-time real estate investor. You're also an author, and doing God's work in a different way. So let's get into it. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about your background? Talk us through, the missionary, and then talk us through this transition into multifamily.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it feels like it wasn't that long ago, man. I was full-time Christian missionary, college pastor. So out in San Diego, California, our vision, our goal with that ministry nonprofit was to build communities of faith on college universities across San Diego. So I love what I did, man. I mean, I just got to be in the lives of young people, go to fraternity houses, hang out with these young, crazy young men. And really, I just love what I did, man. I was helping people build a foundation of faith that would help them find purpose and make great decisions, for the rest of their lives. And loved what we did. We got about 4 years into it. And I mean, I don't know how to say it, but money wasn't an issue. We were a nonprofit, we were fundraising, and up to that point, I was fine to be broke, man. I was fine to be poor. It really was money for me. I really never wanted anything to do with it. I saw the effects that I thought money was having on my family, my parents, friends. And so I just, for a long time, said, hey, I'm going to go do something that has nothing to do with money, until we got to a point in our ministry where, man, we needed more money. It was just, that's the best way I could say it. And the light bulb went off for me. Man, money must not be that bad. If an organization like us, missionaries like me and my friends needed more of it. And so we just got hungry, man, to figure out how do we go create vehicles that can produce wealth, produce cash flow, and really maybe help supplement organizations like ours. And that's where I learned about real estate. It was not multifamily then. I had no idea what a syndication was, right? Honestly, I thought up to that point, you had to be really wealthy to purchase real estate. That was what I thought. I never, ever, ever thought someone like me could go and buy a piece of real estate. And I went to this 2-hour seminar. I heard this radio ad, if you can believe it. And they said, hey, if you want to learn how to build wealth through real estate, come to this seminar. And whoever goes to those things? I did.
Apparently, Ellis does.
Who goes to those people? Desperate people, man.
Right.
And so that was me, desperate but hungry. And I went there, and what I saw changed my life. I saw average Joes, blue-collar folks, people that didn't come from wealth, changing their lives through real estate investing, and just got hungry to go figure out how do we do this. And so long story short, man, we bought a duplex here in San Diego, California, loved it, did really well with it, but realized that was going to be too small to really accomplish what we wanted to do. And that's where we learned about apartment syndication. And here we are today. We control a network of about 150 investors who are looking to place capital in apartment complexes across the nation, and really using multifamily investing as a vehicle for not just financial impact, but really eternal impact. I'm sure we can get into that today as well.
Awesome. So this transition, take me through some of the difficulties that you went through with this transition, mindset, and
so good,
take me through that shift. Cause I'm thinking about my shift from teacher to real estate investor. And then I think of the shift that you went through, and it's got to blow mine out of the water. because
Yeah.
it's a totally
All right. So
different.
if I can just toot my own, I wrote a book, and I want to make sure we get a copy of everyone. But the reason I mention that is because there's a chapter dedicated to this whole thing, because this is how significant this transition was for me. And I think for so many, especially inside like the Christian community, man, because it is like ingrained in us for some reason, for a lot of reasons. We probably don't have time to go into today. That money is evil, right? That capital is not really worth pursuing or having. And so I dedicate a whole chapter of this because honestly, when I look back at my life in that season, it was a whole chapter for me. Like it was the reason why we had no money and had no capital is because our mindset and attitude towards money and capital was so negative.
Mhm.
And if you have, that much negativity towards something and you repel it internally or mentally or spiritually or however you want to phrase it, it's not going to come to you. You know what I'm saying? And so that's where we were when it came to money and capital. And so, man, I just had to like, when that turning point hit me, like, man, money must not be that evil. We need to figure out ways to go create and build wealth. I just started to assess, like, where does this come from? Like, why do I have such baggage when it comes to my view of money? And I just look back at my life, man. And I write about this of like, there's a couple things that happened to me. Somewhere along the way, I decided money was evil. When I think about my parents' divorce when I was 10, money was always the issue, always the center of debate, right? And so early on, man, I just think like I related money with the struggles in my life.
Yeah.
My father passed away at 55 years old.
Mm.
And I remember constantly, he retired early, but from 40 to 55, he always worried about money, man. And it was always an issue for him, and it caused a lot of stress. And so I just remember thinking like, why would I give my life to something that in the end, it just disappoints anyways, right? And so I just
Mm.
had this association, a lot of things like that, where I finally kind of assessed why I thought the way I thought. And I think a lot of us men never really take the time to really assess our baggage is what I say, right? Like, but what that did, man, it just opened my eyes to, wow, okay, maybe I can begin to think differently about money. And the couple of things I say that really changed for me, I realized that capital equals influence. I
Yeah.
just like, it made sense to me, man. I thought for so long time was the best way to have influence, but I was missing half the equation, right? You got to also have capital. Money flows to value, like again, I had such a negative, like I'm even ashamed to say this, man, the negative view I had on people who had a lot of money.
Mm.
Because again, we're taught that, if you have a lot of money, you've got there through greed or you've got there through deception or whatever it
Yeah.
is. And that's
Yeah.
so false. Like most of the people I know who have a lot of money, who are doing well or successful, like yourself, for example, you've gotten there because people trust you, because
Mm.
you've created value to people. And so
Yeah.
I've learned that money flows to value.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, man, really specifically is that I think one of the reasons people are so scared to talk about money in the church, while most of our sermons around money are, hey, beware, right? Or whatever it is. And don't get me wrong, Jesus talks a lot about watching your heart and watching your mind and all these things about money. But I think we have the assumption automatically that money is going to be master over us, when in reality, we actually have the choice to be the master over money. And that really just comes through financial education. Like when we learn how money works and how to steward it and how to create it and how to protect it, money no longer has mastery over us. And so those were the real shifts that happened for me.
Yeah, that's powerful. And when you talk about, like you said, like money is the root of all evil, and I think whether it's Christians and really a lot of other religions and a lot of other just people that aren't even believers, they this thing around money is so negative, right? It's, well, we don't want to have, if we have too much of it, we're greedy, we're taking advantage of, we must be taking advantage of other people if we've got money, because other people don't, right? And what they don't, I saw an article, and I think it was yesterday, and it said that the top 1% is stealing all the money from the bottom 99%. And that was the article.
Yeah, that's
And
crazy,
that's
man.
what people's brains think. The top 1% must be taking all the money from
so
everybody
crazy.
else.
Why? Because whoever wrote the article thinks that money's a limited resource. Let me give you a real recognition. I just read an article. You read an article. I read an article that the government is printing $1 trillion of new money. So clearly money is not a limited resource when we can just go print more, right? So that's another issue. But in general, money's not a limited resource. There's plenty of it. The top 1% only have 1%. I mean, they have a lot of it, but they don't have all of it. So there's more out there for people to go get. No one's taking it. It's crazy concept, but it is the mindset of our country.
It's a mindset of so many people, and that mindset, it's difficult to shift. And I think a lot of it's because, there's just a lot of misinformation out there, right? And you believed it, and I believed it. Like,
I was a victim. For sure.
Yeah, a lot of us have. You've already mentioned some stuff about like why it's important to have money and to utilize it, but why is money not the root of all evil?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, man. You're never going to convince everybody from this, but I was a missionary. Like, I've been on the side of just being poor, and not in the sense of like feel bad for me poor. I chose that route. I didn't care. It was fine. My mom and dad were like, really? Why are you going to go do this? You want to go? Well, I know. I really don't care about making it. So I don't say that to say feel bad for me. Like, I made that decision. I could have gone. Clearly, I could have gone and built a business or been an entrepreneur early on in my career. Decided not to do that. I'm doing that now, so I knew I always could do it. The reason money is not evil is because, like I said before, capital equals influence. Like, every organization, anybody who's doing, like, every nonprofit venture is backed by capital. It's backed by investors. I mean, like your church, your pastor, everything is backed by entrepreneurs, those who create value in the world that people are willing to pay for. That is how the economy works. That's how even the kingdom of God advances, is through the messenger, and is through those who support the messenger. And so, like, we have to have both. And so, it's, I look back at the way our nonprofit was growing, and even the way I was able to do what I did for 6 years as a missionary. It was because I had, not quite 100, but let's say 70 or 80 financial supporters who willingly every single month gave their hard-earned money to support the work that I was doing. Meaning they had to go to work, they had to show up, and instead of taking that money and placing in food on their table for their families, or going out and going on that vacation or whatever it is, they took a percentage of that money and they gave it to me so that we could do our work. So I'm like, I wasn't going to be able to do that anyway else, man. So I mean, really simply, like, we need it. There's no other way around it.
Yep. What's the name of your book?
It's called The Mission of Multifamily.
Mission of Multifamily. And where can people find that, by the way?
Yeah, so you can grab a free copy. I think if we'll release this after the 21st of September at missionofmultifamily.com. The book is also the name of the website. And for right now, we're giving away free copies just because, dude, I'm passionate about this message, man. It's my story. The tagline is a missionary's journey towards financial freedom through apartment investing. And, it really is my journey, and it's what I had to overcome, and talk, a lot's in there. How I bought my first duplex, to how we did our first syndication deal, and how we're using this vehicle to not just make money but make an impact. So missionofmultifamily.com is where you can go grab that.
Hey, if you're looking for the best conference of the year about cash flowing real estate, then check out the Northstar Real Estate Conference. It's going to be October 22nd through 24th, and it's going to be a virtual experience unlike any other because it's interactive. You get to meet and interact with the other attendees as well as with the speakers. And we've got big name speakers too. So sign up today at nreconference.com and use the coupon code DEX, DEX, for $50 off.
I found you on a podcast, your podcast. I was doing search for entrepreneur podcasts, business podcasts that were Christian based, and yours popped up, and I listened to a few episodes, and I've really enjoyed it, and I've continued to listen to the episodes. Tell me about this podcast. Like, why did you start it, and tell me about the purpose and what you feel like it's providing other people.
Yeah. It's funny that I could kind of act like I'm this really stud entrepreneur and knew what I was doing all along. That when I got started, now we have this mastermind community that people are paying to be a part of and stuff. And I'll just be honest with you, man, early on, I just wanted to see if there were other people out there that were thinking like this. Like, it was not, let's go create this big business or this podcast or this community. Is like, is there anybody else out there who would talk about these kind of things? Like, is there anybody else, honestly, who could teach me about how to live out my faith in light of business? Because, dude, I had no idea. Like, not only did I not have any idea how to run a business, I didn't have any idea how to exercise my faith in light of my business. And so that's why we started it. That's why we started our mastermind, because it was like, if I got 5 people who will do this with me, that's better than none, because right now I have none. And I just would say, and we talked about this, when we first met, man, there is such a need for it. There is such a demand for it. Like, it's crazy. It's really why I have found so much success and be able to enter into an industry like multifamily and really break out. I mean, is the best way to say it, and really stand out. It's why, we're able to raise significant money and have a lot of investors in our community, is because I'm not trying to serve everyone. Like, I'm open about my faith. I'm open about what we're doing in our apartment communities. If you want to be a part of that, come on. And if you don't, there's, as you know, thousands of other people they can go invest with. And I've realized who I serve, what we're trying to do. And if you want to be part of that mission, let's ride. If not, I guess I never really set out to do all this anyway, so I'm okay if you don't work with us.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I love how you just said, like, you're just trying to figure out, like, how do you serve your faith and live a faithful life within your business and life. And so you started the podcast of that. Yet you're teaching through your podcast, you're teaching other people.
Yeah,
exactly that.
And the best way to do it too, man. Like, it's just funny. Tomorrow is the first episode I'll ever launch where I'll do any teaching. And we're 50 episodes in, we're 7 or 8 months in. I've never tried to teach, because my posture, and so many people can find success if they do something similar. I teach through learning. Like, come on, teach me. So I ask questions that I want to learn about, that I'm trying to figure out, and I allow the other experts to speak on. I literally, it's funny that you say that, man, because the first episode of me teaching anything, I feel like I'm finally getting to a point where I've kind of learned some things that I think would be helpful, right? I'm like, hey, just listen, I can help accelerate your path if you just listen to some of the things I've learned.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any of that, not too long ago. So most of the teaching has just come from me learning and trying to share that journey. And so if you listen to the first podcast we ever launched, it's a trailer episode to say, hey, the show it used to be called Kingdom Capitalist. Now it's called Kingdom REI. And I talk about in that bonus trailer, like, hey, this is my journey. I'm trying to figure out how the heck we do this, really walk with God faithfully and build a successful business. If you want to be a part of that, subscribe. And people, I think, have really wanted to be a part of that journey as well, because a lot of people are on that same journey.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is a lot of people that, our business people are on that, like you said, are on that journey and trying to figure out. And it's like some of the problems that we talked about already, like money is evil. Well, we're running these businesses where we're making money, or that's one of the main goals, right? And so how do we tie them together? How do we live that life that we're trying to achieve? Those are all questions we ask. And I love how you just said there too about so many people could learn from just asking good questions, right? Just talking and asking good. You don't sit there and on none of your podcasts have I heard you really preach at all, really say anything at all, other than good questions that lead to good answers from everybody you're talking to, and that's what we're looking for. And you're doing an amazing job teaching through doing that. So it's great.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's my posture. I don't know how to say it. I'm really in there to learn. I mean, that's why I'm really picky about who I bring onto my show. I get a lot of people that reach out to me and say, "Hey, can I be on your show?" And I'm like, "No, I don't really want you there." Sorry. Like I'm there to really learn. And if you haven't gotten to a place where I think I can really learn from you and other people can really learn from you, I really probably don't want to interview you. So yeah, I mean, I think our show is something special. And I really I protect it for that reason because again, I'm spending an hour and a half of my time with these folks, and so it's been really significant. We've been able to get amazing people on this podcast. It really is amazing to see. I mean, just to again, when you asked me why I started it, I would just say the answer is yes to, are there folks out there who are really doing this well in the sense of living out their faith and experiencing tremendous success in their business? The answer is heck yes. And it is awesome to see that you do not have to be behind a pulpit or be a missionary or be a nonprofit to have incredible impact in the world. And most of the time when you are having tremendous success and creating a ton of value, you're also making a lot of money. And that's the fun piece.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good stuff. I want to know a mistake in your real estate journey that you've made, and how have you learned from it? Business journey,
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, where do you want to start, man? I mean, I think early on it was trying to do everything. I mean, I stalled so much early on. It was like I knew what I was good at, but I just tried to do everything. Like, I'm really good at this. I'm really good at messaging. I'm really good at branding. I'm really good at casting a vision. I'm an evangelist, man. That's what I did. Like, I just like to talk and bring people into a vision. So that means I'm not good at a lot of real estate stuff. There's a lot of things in business I'm not good at, but I try to do it all early and really stalled and really hurt myself, really just wasted a lot of time. I look back, I'm like, man, I wasted a lot of time trying to do everything. So, now I partner with experts, man. We have our own group. We're looking to start a fund where we might even partner with some other experts. So I find the best people in the business and I work with them, and I do the 1 to 2 things I'm really good at, which is marketing, branding, and building relationships, capital, in the sense of raising capital. That's what I know I'm good at. And that's what I do. So that was a mistake early on. I mean, I think this could be really helpful for anyone who is a real estate entrepreneur and trying to grow their business. I think we do a lot of stuff I'm actually about to produce an episode on this, that does not, how can I say, so I started this podcast and I'm creating all this content and I'm creating exposure and people are learning about me, but I have no way to follow up with them. And so I think a lot of people, what they're doing is they see that they should be creating content and they say they should get their name out there, but they actually have no call to action for people to exchange their email or their phone number with them. And so, dude, I spent the first 6 months, I mean, heck, we're in September and I'm just realizing everything has changed in the past 6 weeks because I've realized, what am I doing? I have so much content out there every single week and I am not getting someone's email for all of this stuff that I'm doing. I'm literally wasting my time. I'm not making money, even though I'm putting out such incredible value. And so that's been a huge mistake I've realized is why am I not asking for something? Why am I not trying to exchange value for someone else's email? Because again, why do you want someone's email? Well, that's how you communicate with them. That's how you provide more offers, right? That's how you show them your deals. And so that's a mistake I've made and I'm really trying to correct right now. It's even honestly to be real transparent is and the book is my story. I'm excited to get out there, but you got to give me your email to get that book. And there's a reason why, because I want you to be part of my community. I want to be able to communicate with you. And so that's a mistake that I think I really am trying to teach my community about. Hey, stop doing anything and stop spending money on anything that is not helping you grow your list. That's just the number one activity.
Yeah. I can speak to that, man. I went on podcasts in the beginning when I first like learned about podcasts, and I didn't have a website. I didn't give my email address. I didn't give my phone number, nothing.
Yeah.
All that I did is I would say, look me up on social media.
Yeah.
I didn't even give them like where to find me. Just look me up on LinkedIn and Facebook. I'm on there. You look up my name, you'll find me. That's it. That's all I had. I went on to Bigger Pockets.
Oh,
like
man.
one of the biggest.
That's
and that's
crazy.
all that I said.
That's crazy.
So
Yeah, that hurts,
that.
man.
Yeah.
That hurts. That hurts me to know that you went on Bigger Pockets and didn't have a call to action. Like
no
that,
call to action.
And listen, for anyone listening, like,
brutal.
This can be so simple. Like for me early on, when I didn't have a book and I didn't have all these things, I had a checklist. I went on Joe Fairless's podcast and I said, hey, I got 101 questions that I ask when I'm looking at a real estate deal. If you want that, here's my website that you can go to. What's it special? It was website/checklist. Actually, it's probably still up there, ellishammond.com/checklist if somebody wants that. And that's literally, I got several emails doing that. And so it doesn't have to be that complicated. Yeah. But again, like that's a great example of like going on a place where people probably want to follow up with you and you've not helped them do that. Yeah.
I mean, luckily, right, people figure it out if they want to connect to you. So people connected with me on Bigger Pockets and on LinkedIn, on Facebook, but I'm sure I lost a lot of connections by not adding value beyond, like you have that checklist. Like,
well, I mean, here's the thing, Todd. So, to that point, I know who you are, man. I've listened to several of your stuff early on, way before we just got connected recently. I'm not on your list. Right. Like I didn't get your last deal. Right. And call to action on that. And I don't know if that was your fault or maybe I just didn't take action, but I think a lot of people are known, but they have no relationship with people, man. And what's the point? I don't care if people know me. I want you to come work with me and be a part of what we're doing. You see me on LinkedIn 100 times. That's great, but it's doing nothing for neither one of us, right? We're not really helping anybody move forward that way. So that's a huge mistake, man, that I know a lot of people are making.
What are a couple of the steps that you take to make sure you're not only connecting, not only getting people on your list, but truly connecting with them, right? So somebody who's going to invest 100, 200,000, 500,000 into your deal wants to know you, right? They don't want to just like hear you on one podcast and then invest $500,000 with you. Like they want to get to know you. So what are you doing?
I'll give you a great analogy or a great example. Recently we saw the tragedy of Kobe Bryant passing, right? He died in a helicopter accident and the whole world was mourning, man.
Yep.
Literally it's like people's father had died or their brother had died. I mean, literally people, making shrines to this guy and putting his jersey down and like literally having their own mini funerals because of this guy. Why? Because they have spent years watching Kobe Bryant on television and in the media. And because they've seen him so much, the brain literally cannot distinguish between in person and on a screen. And so like that's just what we do. Like we associate ourselves with people, we build relationships, and even more so in this day and age. And so I just think like you got to be everywhere. I mean, you got to be on multiple platforms for people to connect with you. And that doesn't mean we have to get face to face. We ever have to talk. But I can't tell you how many times I get on a phone call with someone and like, here's a great example. Early on when we were, finding people to join our mastermind community, I remember this one guy ask me all these questions. I'm like, how did it go? He was asking a lot of questions about the community and et cetera. And he's like, well, is there anything else I should be asking? I'm like, well, you haven't asked one question about me. Do you want to know anything about me since I started and I lead this community? He's like, no, man, like I feel like I know you and listen to your podcast every week. And it hit me like, oh, wow, that's the power of what we're doing. And so I think the best way to connect is just be everywhere. So for me, that looks like I post on LinkedIn every day. I have my own podcast show. I'm on other people's podcast shows. Now I'm writing a book. Like how many forms can I interact with these folks? If it's Instagram, I'm doing stories on Instagram of me and my wife and we're at dinner, we're going to the beach, like, funny stuff. I just try and be me in as many platforms as possible so people can get a real feel. And that way, when we get on the phone, I don't really know you yet, but it goes a long ways if you know me really well. And so, to make the goal of hopefully never getting on the phone with a stranger makes my job really easy. And so, having just start, if you're like, oh, that's so overwhelming. Let me make it really simple. Pick one platform and then pick a second platform after you do it. You need a platform though. And probably one of the best ones is something where they can hear your voice. So a podcast is really great. A YouTube channel is really great.
Yeah.
LinkedIn and just do videos. Like maybe that's it. But you need a platform that you can consistently and almost probably every single day show up on. And that's been transformational for all of my businesses.
Yeah, super powerful. I agree. The voice, because you can really get your personality out there. People feel like they know you because they've heard you talk and they get to know your personality and all that. And being genuine, like you said, and I applaud you for that. Like, you were a missionary, right? So it probably comes a lot more natural, but just it's difficult for a lot of people to truly just put what they have out there, what they think out there. And because there's a lot of people out there, quite frankly, that probably don't like you for whatever reason, because you talk about God, you talk about Jesus, you talk about how that's such an important part of your life. And so they just turn that off and they go, well, I'm not going to listen to this. I don't want to hear this guy preach to me. So you just look beyond that, which is awesome.
Well, here's the thing though. I really want that actually. And I'm going to tell you why that's so powerful. And people got to get this, because this is like, I'm glad you brought that up. Listen, the most people's problem with branding is they try and reach everybody. And so you can't build a strong following and people who will work with you above anybody else. Here's the thing, Todd, I'm not the most, I haven't been in the multifamily game the longest, my man. You know what I mean? Like, my track record is not that deep, but why are people choosing to work with me over everyone else? Some people anyways. It's because my message is so strong that it repels people, and then it deeply and strongly resonates with people. And you got to have a personal brand or a message that does both, or you're really not going to be able to keep people, because if it just comes down to the deal or the numbers or your product, guess what? It doesn't matter what industry you're in. Someone's always going to do it better and cheaper. So it's just that's technology, and that's this industry, right? And so it's you got to have more than a good product, man. And so for me, I really want people, I say that humbly, I don't want to turn people away, what I'm saying, and I don't want to be repulsive, but I do want to be repelling, because I know the more people I repel, the more people I attract. And those who I attract, I'm really strong. Here's a great example of Donald Trump. Good God, how repelling is that guy? I don't care what your stance on politics. I don't know how much you like him. It's really hard to listen to the guy, but he is so repelling that he has such a strong and passionate following. Yep. He's a great example. And he might win a second election. He definitely won a first election because of it. And he might win a second election because of the same principle. And so,
that's a great example. Such a polarizing person.
I don't want to be as polarizing as Donald Trump, but he is the extreme example of what I'm trying to say. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
People love him. Yeah. And people hate him.
Yeah.
Just hate him.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
And but it's with the same passion people hate him. With the same passion people love that guy, man. Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to building a brand. Listen, because if you could build a massive real estate business if you had 200 people that really loved you and 2 billion people that really hated you.
Yeah. Well, look, one of my good friends can raise a good chunk of money, probably, $3 to $5 million. So not massive, but that's with about 15 investors.
Yep.
And that's all that's on his list. It's 15 people, and it's every single time.
Yep.
And so
That's
like you
that's
said,
actually really good for me to hear, man. I'm like, oh yeah, like what do I, you really don't need
you don't
10,000
need
contacts.
600 people. You
Yeah.
don't need, yeah. And so I love what you're saying there. Basically, you don't want people to like you. You want people to love you or to be repelled away
That's a
from
great
you.
line. I'm gonna write it down. I don't want people to like me. I want them to love me, or I want them to hate me. I don't want people to hate me, but I get.
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
think that's powerful though. That is actually that's a good line, man. You don't want people to like you. You want them to love you.
That's your
And
line. I just kind of,
yeah, I'm writing that down.
reset
You're
it.
gonna see that
It's
on an
yours.
image quote with my face on it somewhere on LinkedIn and probably the
Could
next
you
2
just put my, like, maybe even my initials or something?
Absolutely.
Just
I'll tag you in it.
something.
How about that? I'll tag you in the
Tag me.
post.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's great, man. No, that's so right on.
I love it. So, what are some of the essential people that have gotten you to kind of where you are right now?
Oh man, so many. I mean, first my wife, hands down my wife. I remember when we started Kingdom Capitalist and it was such a repelling name, and I was a missionary and I was trying to buy multifamily deals, and everybody was like, why are you buying real estate? Aren't you supposed to be a missionary? Like, how can you buy $10 million of real estate? And then Kingdom Capitalist, why are you picking that name? And it was just like so much pushback early on, man. And honestly, I didn't care. Like, I knew what we were doing, but
That was
who got
probably the best feedback you got was the negative pushback.
oh man, but who got the brunt of it? You know who they went to? They went to my wife.
Oh,
And so for like a long time, man, my wife took the brunt of it because they didn't want to come to me and say it, but they would go to her and be like, what's Ellis doing? Like, what's all this all about? Like, is he becoming kind of like the prosperity guy where he's talking about his faith and money and all this stuff? And we both knew what we were doing and who we were. And she just was just like believed in me, man, and stayed true and like was supportive. So hands down, my wife early on, like she just took that and just like, you know what I mean? Like just kept it at arm's length. And that was so good. It was also really hard because I knew she was going through that. I'm like, listen, just hang in there. Like they'll be gone in 3 months. You know what I mean? Like, and they are like, those people aren't around anymore. I don't hear from them. So I've had some great mentors in this space. We have a board of advisor with our mastermind, Ryan Smith, Elevation Capital of Orlando, one of the most tremendous real estate operators, Christian brothers in the world. Love that guy to death. Dan Hanford, PassiveInvesting.com, Mark Kinney, Think Multifamily. Those are just brothers and mentors that have given so much to me. Hunter Thompson, it was an early mentor for me with ASIM Capital and his podcast, Cash Flow Connections, in the real estate space. Just folks that people might recognize. I will promote their brand, their operations, their company all day long because it's what they have given to me to help me get to where I am. So those guys have been awesome. And that's what I love about why I really fell in love with the real estate industry, man. It's just like how generous and how willing people are to work and help each other. And really grateful for that.
That's one really cool thing I love about real estate as well, is that it's such an abundance mindset. Some of these other industries, and I talk to a lot of investors who are business owners, and they're like, man, I don't know how you guys do it in the real estate industry, but my industry, whatever it is like super cutthroat. Everybody is after everybody. They're not helping each other out. If they're going to help you out, they're doing it out of a selfish reason. And for some reason, our industry just has this abundance mindset, which is, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. In most circles, I've found that to be very true as well. And it does go back to the principle you're just talking about. Listen, there is a lot of abundance in this industry. And I see that changing a little bit because it's getting real hard to find good deals in 2020 for sure. But like you said, it's not like there's limited investors out there. Yeah. Money's not, capital is always, there's a lot of capital in the world and a lot of people who need an alternative way to invest. Yeah. So it's not like we need to go, like, I don't need your investors, Todd, and you don't need mine. And you know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's one reason. But it is an industry that really is helped by, sharing tips and advice. I mean, part of it is because the real estate industry has been operating like the wild, wild west for ever. And I think, probably since maybe early 2000s, finally things are starting to come out where, hey, this is helpful and we can create this system. And And so, you know, there's a real benefit in kind of learning what other people are doing. And so I'm really thankful that that's there because, you know, think about if I tried to break into the multifamily scene even 10 years ago, that would be really hard because there wasn't nearly as much education or people out there talking about it. So I think that's really good. It's a really good thing.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I got a couple last questions. We got to wrap up here, but where do you see yourself, Hattie? Where are you going, you know, with this whole deal?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So inside of Mission Multifamily, in that book, I talk about our vision to not just make money and not just kind of build a large portfolio of real estate, but really have an impact in our communities, in our neighborhoods that we're investing in individual lives. And so, you know, we have our own, I guess, network of investors. We're on track to start our first fund to invest in apartment communities that are, that will work with a great organization called Apartment Life. So there's a really cool organization called Apartment Life where they place, you know, families or missionary families or mission-minded families to go in there and serve these communities. I really love what they're doing. And so we really want to put together a fund to support and purchase communities where we can do more of that. We have our own acquisition arm where we're trying to find deals. And so, yeah, man, we're really looking. I mean, I love multifamily. I want to own thousands of units. We're in the hundreds still, so we got a long ways to go. But that is really what we're doing, trying to build our community of investors who believe in what we're doing and want to work with us. And then we have, as you know, a mastermind community for more people who are on the operational side of things that are looking for a community just to, like we just talked about, do deals with, partner together, joint venture, learn from each other. So we're really focused on growing that community as well. So those are kind of our two focuses in 2020 and really heading into 2021 as well.
That's cool. That's awesome. What's a favorite book?
I got a different one for you that most people probably wouldn't say. It's called Mindset, The Psychology of Success. And that book has changed my life and mentality outside of the Bible more than any book I've ever read. And it is so good, man. One little truth in there that she talks about the fixed versus the growth mindset. And just that concept alone is life-changing to think about. There's so many issues I thought like this is just how it is, but it's because I have I'm unwilling to change, right, in that regard. And so constantly assessing, you know, how can I be more growth minded in this area of my life? You know, like a lot of things in entrepreneurship, I don't know how to do that. I can't do that. To change that thinking to, okay, well, how do I learn how to do that? Yeah. Who do I need to bring on my team who can do that? Instead of just saying, well, I'll never be able to get there. I don't know how to do that. Just changing the question in my mind has been so helpful. So that's a great book.
Love it. Love it. All right. Last question before we wrap up. What are your 3 pillars of wealth creation?
3 pillars of wealth creation.
Yeah.
This is a really great question. I want to make sure I get this really great. 2 come to mind immediately. One is always seek to add value. Money flows to value, right? So value is key. Second pillar of creation is the power of your network. That is not a cliche that your network is your net worth or whatever it is. Net worth is network. That is so true. Like you need to be building your network before you ever need it. I have significantly benefited from the power of my network this year, both personally, spiritually, and definitely financially. And then thirdly, the third pillar, I love how these are just flowing to me because these are so right on, man. I definitely know I'll hit this question. The third one is become a master at one skill. Like know what your superpower is and do that really, really well. And don't be distracted by a lot of other things. Like there are a lot of other people that you can partner with or do joint ventures with that are good at other stuff. So if you're really exceptional at something, figure out ways you can leverage that and then partner with others who can do the rest. So for example, I'm really good at, I think, raising capital and branding and marketing. I got other guys who do the other stuff, and we make a pretty good team. So those would be my 3 pillars.
Love it. Love it. Great stuff, man. I really appreciate the time we've been able to spend. I could probably keep on talking to you forever, but
I know. Well, hopefully we can.
Gotta wrap up.
Yeah.
Well, how can our listeners get in touch with you? How can they learn more about, what you've got going on and be able to connect with you?
Yeah, really simply, man, I want to make sure you get a free copy of the Mission to Multifamily book. Go to missionmultifamily.com. You'll get an email from me. Love to hear your feedback. Feel free to respond. Unless it gets too overwhelming, I really hope to just be able to go back and forth with you, hear your story. And then you can find me on LinkedIn. Like I said, I post a ton of content on LinkedIn, and it's a great way to just interact with me directly there. So missionofmultifamily.com, or go to Ellis Hammond at LinkedIn, or type in Ellis Hammond on LinkedIn. I'm sure I'll come up.
Awesome.
How was that for an action step, Todd? Did it?
Well, you got something of value, right?
Yeah.
You're bringing something of value.
That's
So
right.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Right.
You got a content on LinkedIn, connect with them there, and then you got a book. I mean, you got a free book. How much more can you ask for, right?
That's right.
That's good stuff. Well, Ellis, really appreciate it again. Thanks so much for adding a ton of value to the show, and you have a fantastic rest of the day.
Thanks for having me. Hey, I want to tell your listeners too, you're going to be on my show not too long from here. Yeah. So King Mario podcast, and we'll get to turn these mics around, man. So excited to do that as well.
It'll be fun. Cool stuff. Hey, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. Your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really need this and want this. So the other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to venturedproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out, and we can definitely have a call. Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.